Welcome to an example on probability that involves the use of combinations. A state lottery is set up so each player chooses 6 different numbers from 1 through 44. What is the probability of winning with one ticket? What is the probability of winning with 2,000 tickets? To win, you have to select all 6 numbers correctly. For reference, below we have the definition of probability and the definition of a combination. To find the probability, we want to find the number of favorable ways and divide by the total number of ways the event can occur. So to find the probability of winning with one ticket, well, if we only have one ticket, there's only one chance or one favorable way of winning the lottery. So we'll have 1 divided by the total number of ways of selecting 6 numbers from 44 numbers, which would be a combination, which would be 44 choose 6. Notice how there are several ways to write a combination. Now we'll evaluate this combination by hand as well as on the calculator. Let's start by doing it by hand. If we have n choose r, this is equal to n factorial divided by n minus r factorial. So let's go ahead and evaluate this by hand first. We would have 44 factorial divided by 44 minus 6 factorial, that would be 38 factorial, and then 6 factorial. So now we're going to go ahead and expand 44 factorial, but then we'll stop once we reach 38 and write it as 38 factorial. So we'll have 44 times 43 times 42 times 41 times 40 times 39 times 38 and so on, which again would be 38 factorial. The denominator is 38 factorial. Let's go ahead and expand 6 factorial. That would be 6 times 5 times 4 times 3 times 2 times 1. So now 38 factorial over 38 factorial simplifies to 1. And then notice that 5 times 4 would be 20 times 2 would be 40. 40 over 40 simplifies to 1. And then 3 divides evenly into 39. There's 1 3 and 3 and 13 3s and 39. 6 divides evenly into 42. Since 6 times 7 is 42, there's 1 6 and 6 and 7 6s and 42. Now the denominator is 1, we can find the product in the numerator, which will give us the value of 44 choose 6. 44 times 43 times 7 times 41 times 13. We have 7,059,052. We could have also evaluated the combination on the calculator by pressing 44, math, left arrow to probability, option 3, then 6, enter. Notice how it's the same value. So the probability is 1 over 7,059,052. Now probability can be expressed as a fraction, a decimal, or a percentage. So let's go ahead and express this as a decimal and a percentage. To do this, remember the fraction bar means division. So to convert this to a decimal, we'll have 1 divided by 7,059,052. Notice how it's a very small number. It's being expressed using scientific notation. So to write this as a decimal, we have to move the decimal point to the left 7 times, since this means times 10 to the negative 7. So if we move it once, we'll have to add 6 extra zeros to the right of the decimal point. So we'd have 0.0000001417. So 0.12345611417. Express this as a percentage, we would multiply by 100, which is the same as moving the decimal point to the right 2 places. So we'd have 0.00001417%. So you can see the probability of winning with one ticket is very, very small. Now for the second example, to determine the probability of winning with 2,000 tickets, instead of one favorable way, we'll now have 2,000 favorable ways. So the probability would be 2,000 divided by 44, choose 6, which we already know is 7,059,052. Now when expressing probability as a fraction, we should simplify this, and since they're both even, we know they're divisible by 2, but since the last two digits are also divisible by 4, both divisible by 4 as well, so let's go ahead and divide the top and bottom by 4. This would give us 500 divided by 1,764,763. And this actually does not simplify any further. So the probability of winning with 2,000 tickets is 500 out of 1,764,763. But again, let's go ahead and convert this to a decimal and a percentage. So now we'll have 500 divided by 1,764,763. Again, we have scientific notation, so I'll have to move the decimal point to the left 4 places, so I'll have to add 3 zeros. So we'll have 0.0002833, or approximately. Which means as a percentage, multiplying by 100, we would have approximately 0.02833%. Again, still a very small percentage of winning the lottery with 2,000 tickets. I hope you found this explanation helpful. Thank you for watching.